Good evening, everybody. It is Tuesday night. It is a PGA week. It is the Memorial, our second week in a row in glorious Ohio. Blah, blah, blah. I am Johnny Danger. Joining me, Mr. Chris Esports Emmerich. How are you, sir?
I'm doing wonderful. Absolutely wonderful.
I love when you're wonderful. When you're wonderful, I'm wonderful. I like that. Marcus Brewery Mark, how are you, my gun?
I'm doing great.
Oh, you're doing better now.
I am.
What'd you crack?
That is the sound of a Founders Unraveled IPA.
Ooh, the quasi-juicy, kind of sort of New England, but not really. Way to go, Founders. Pretty decent beer.
Yeah, it's rock solid, man. It's if you like the juicy New England, it's got the flavor, but it's not, the thickness of it.
It's not hazy, man. It's not hazy.
No, but they don't advertise it as hazy.
Oh, it's crap. If it ain't hazy, it's crap.
It tastes great. It's very light bodied, which I love, and it's perfect amount of alcohol. I'm like totally addicted to this beer right now.
Nah, it's a tasty beer. I kid. It's a delicious beer. Well, we are Draft for Upside, my friends. We like draft beer. DRAUGHT, the number 4 Upside. We talk sports. We talk esports. We talk Star Wars sometimes. But, we're around. You can find us at draftforupside.com, Draft for Upside on Facebook, all the pertinent places. And we are also distributed by my good buddy Lou Landers of the Sports Crew. So check us out. Check all their guys out. They're getting ready for baseball to restart. Chris, you have said you are not going to pay attention to baseball this year. Is that true?
Yeah, that's true. I'll probably play some of the DFS contests at the beginning of the year, where the prize pools are super big, and I think they're going to be super soft. I think that around opening day, that first couple days, a lot of people playing it, and especially this year. So yeah, I'll dip my toes then, and then I'm going to get out.
Yeah, FanDuel is having a $1 million to first place contest with 1.1 million possible entries. Is that going to come anywhere close to filling?
I mean, I don't know. I don't think it needs to fill for that number, I guess.
I just thought it was a little crazy opening up a contest for 1.1 million entries.
Yeah, no, I mean, there's there's a couple millionaire makers. There's the 2 or 3, I think, NBA ones maybe, and then there's like baseball ones on DraftKings, and you've got all your PGA and a couple MMA. It's a lot of millionaires.
And how many are you going to win? And when you win more than one, what are you going to buy for each of us?
I don't know. Maybe a laptop for Adam with an air card and a headphone, so he can make it on here on time.
That'd be great.
A mixing board for Mark, and maybe I'll forgive your beer debt that you owe me still.
Oh no, never forgive that, my friend. It's coming. I'm just waiting for the good stuff to come.
I gotcha.
Ooh, well, August, man. We have like 12 brand new bourbon beers coming out in August.
Okay, well I can wait. That's fine. Until then, I'll settle on this $24,000 win that I had on Friday.
Dude, that was awesome. So fun to see that in our group chat, man. Congrats, you're just murdered.
Yeah, really weird slate to be able to take it down solo too. So it was nice to wake up to. I passed out in the middle of it, or actually at the beginning of it. Woke up, was kind of astonished, and looked in the Discord that I'm part of, and they were thinking that it was me, but they weren't sure, and they were pinging me, and I was passed out in my chair.
Of course, Chris, Mark and I know what you're talking about, but what exactly the hell are you talking about?
I took down the 2-game slate on Friday for the LCS, which is the American League of Legends League. And it was a 2-game slate. First place took down 20,000, so I took down that one. I took down solo, which is pretty impressive for a 4,000 person tournament with only 2 games on it, with my hedge dog lineup. And then I also took down the smaller 2K to first GPP and a couple other contests along with that, as I had about 20 lineups in each of them.
Man, I'd love to do a podcast with you on this stuff, but you'd have to spend the first 10 podcasts explaining to me what League of Legends is.
It probably wouldn't be that hard. I mean, I'm sure, you could sit in front of a computer, you could have some of your kids explain it to you, and, you could run squats.
Tried. I have a 15-year-old, and I tried to get him to explain it to me, and he's like, Dad, that game's dumb. Nobody plays it. And I'm like, well, you're wrong on one part at least. A lot of people play it.
Hey, AOC just tweeted out that she got silver 3 during quarantine. So that's she plays League apparently.
That's funny. I like that. One more reason to vote AOC. I don't need many more. I've got lots of them. I just got to move over there and get a ballot or something. So, anyways, Chris, are you drinking anything delicious?
Yeah, let's see. So I have 3 beers in front of me. I started out my night prior to talking to you guys with some Brambling Bones from Firestone Walker. It's a wild ale aged in oak barrels with white grapes, cherries.
It's on my list.
Black currants. Oh, it's a shelf beer here. Then I am currently drinking some Breda Blanc, also from Firestone Walker. It's another wild ale fermented with white grape juice. And after I finish these two, I saved a little bit to mix them together, see how that goes. I have a
little cuvee action.
Action. I have a can of The Fallen, which is a West Coast style India Pale Ale, 50 IBU, 6%, and this is from Trogs, I believe.
Nice. Dude, listening to you talk about some of these wild ales is actually New Holland, Mark, has gotten me super interested. Have you heard of the Dragon's Milk Solera that they're putting out?
No.
So they are putting out a 4-pack of Dragon's Milk Solera, which is a fermented wild fermentation ale, right? And it's going to be blended. So they have these giant wooden vats. You're more of a brewer than I am, so maybe you can help me with that. But they're like giant open air wooden vats, right? That's what foeders are.
Yep.
And so they don't want those vats to dry out, so they leave the base beer in it, and then they pour fresh beer in one, and then they take like half of that and pour it into the next one, and then pour more fresh beer, and then they pour that into the next one, and then that next one they pour into one further down the line. They just keep blending down the line, right? They just keep adding new beer to aged beer, and they just move them down the vessels until basically all 4 of them are done. And the last one is the 4 or 5 different batches of beer, all aged the longest, and then it goes down to the freshest beer blend, right? So from what I understand, they have a 4-pack out, and they're going to pull a bottle from each one of the foeders. So they're all going to be different variations of blended and aged throughout the process. And they're all going to be marked to tell you which ones are the ones they pulled throughout the process. I think that is cool as hell.
Oh man, I got to figure out how I can get my hands on those. Those are going to be super popular.
Yeah, so there's a pre-sale going on Saturday, I believe it starts, and then you could pick them up like 3 or 4 weeks later. So maybe you and I ought to just buy one, and we'll just sit down and drink them all together during a pod.
Do we have to go out to Holland?
Yeah, somebody's got to pick them up for you. So I'll work on that. I know some people.
Yeah, but do we have to? Is the pre-sale online or?
Pre-sale's online.
Okay.
Pickup is in Grand Rapids or Holland.
Well, that's fine. I don't mind picking it up.
Yeah. All right. Well, come pick me up. We'll road trip. It'll be fun.
All right.
We'll wear our masks. We'll wear our masks together in your truck. It'll be good times.
Yeah. There you go.
Yeah, I like it. Anyways, so Adam, which I'm kind of glad he's not here right now, because this dude basically talked me into selling the farm on Brooks last week, and that didn't fucking work out.
Me neither.
Ugh, man, I had almost no Brooks. I had just a sprinkle, and then he texts me the same thing he did the week before, when he's like, "Dude, Bryson's gonna win this whole thing. Bryson, gotta switch it up. You gotta put Bryson in." He did the same thing, and I'm like, "All right, man, like you weren't wrong the time before. Like, let's do it." And yeah, man, so I switched up like 40% of my lineups over to Brooks, but I already had a little bit, so I was like 50% Brooks, and it just murdered me. And it was sad because the one and done, I had Brooks, and I had the you have to pick the alternate in case your guy withdraws or gets sick or something, and my alternate was Marikawa. So screw that dude. I'm glad he's not here. In fact, if he shows up, I'm just going to disconnect him from the call. That's what I'm going to do. He's going to say hi. I'm going to say nice seeing you, and then I'm going to disconnect him from the call.
While I had a pretty exciting week in golf, even though I only played, I think, like 2 or 3 lineups, and I lost my championship to you, Danger, which was disappointing. I was hoping for a three-peat. I was able to have a little sweat on round 4, and I was live in the showdown lineup. Ended up winning like $500 on 100, but at one point I was in like the top 30, and it was 100,000 to first. So really like that round 4 showdown. 1, 2, and 3, not so good.
Yeah. Now those showdowns are pretty fun. I had my whole bankroll lined up into Brooks, so I didn't have anything to play Sunday. But I do like those last day showdowns. They're fun. They are good. All right. Well, we are back at Field, Ohio, to play the Memorial. This is, Jack's masterpiece. This is Tiger's favorite course. He's a 5-time winner here. He is back for the first time since the restart. Mark, why don't you tell us a little bit about this course? We did the whole breakdown last week, so you can kind of give us a brief one and maybe tell us a little bit about what they changed.
Yeah, so we did the breakdown last week. So you have a course that's more about accuracy and iron play, although bombers can play out of it. But what they've done this week is they've let the roughs grow out, and they're cutting the greens down to make them lightning fast. And they're going to move the tees back, and we're going to have some of the hardest hole positions of any tournament the PGA faces. And if you watched it at all last week, the greens are just undulating, sloped, curvy, lots of breaks. So they're just going to tuck these holes in these areas where you barely touch the ball, and you're doing 360 horseshoe into the hole. So it's always fun.
And there was a lot of rain before the course last week, so it was playing a little slow. There hasn't been a whole lot of rain this week. However, I have been paying attention a little bit to the weather. Thunderstorms projected for later Thursday, and then afternoon Friday, and then less of a chance, but also afternoon Saturday and Sunday. So it will slow down throughout the week.
Yes, it will.
So, I don't typically change a lot of strategy for weather, but if you're on the fence between some guys to start off, a couple of things here. The back 9 plays significantly harder than the front 9, and there's supposed to be bad weather the second half. So there's a couple ways you could take that. I probably start with early guys on the front 9 because golfers are creatures of habit and streaks. And if you get off to a really nice start when the weather's good and you're on the easier half, I think you can, weather the weather a little bit better as it gets worse. And if you can get off to a better start, you're more prone to do better overall. So, not that I would change my strategy around the weather, but if you got a guy that's starting at 2 o'clock on the back 9, and you got a guy that's starting at 7 o'clock on the front 9, and you're trying to pick between the two, I'd take the early start and on the front.
Yeah, especially on the showdowns. It's a very good strategy.
Uh-huh. So keep an eye on the weather. Keep an eye on the weather. All right, so really awesome final day. I mean, Chris and I were chatting a little. Teams were pretty close, but his sweat was pretty awesome. I mean, Morikawa just absolutely dead-eye the last few rounds. Justin Thomas let him catch up. He was, up by 3 with 3 to go, and then had to go to a playoff?
Yeah, he bogeyed. Justin Thomas bogeyed 3 of the last 4 holes.
Yeah, not good. Not good for JT. How do you feel about him this week? That gets in his head a little bit, or you think that motivates him a little bit?
No, I think it gets in his head. I can see him doing a top 10 finish, but I don't think he's competing for the trophy.
Yeah, he's not even on. About 40 guys sitting here with various marks, circles, stars, pluses, question marks, and he's not even on the list, man. He's not on the list. Oh, look, is Adam? Did he join us? No? Wow. I heard a noise. Maybe not. Did I lose one of you two?
No, I'm still here.
No, we're here.
Yeah. Anyways, man. So looking at the top of the field here, you've got Morikawa, Dustin Johnson, Rory McIlroy, Justin Thomas, and Bryson for the top 5 guys starting Colin at 10,000 even, all the way up to 11-1 for Bryson. I mean, Bryson's been on fire, and 11-1 being the highest of the field, but there's usually people closer to 12 or even in the 12s when you got this kind of a field. So it's going to be interesting. He's not out of play. In fact, you can easily play two of these guys. There's a lot of value. There's a lot of guys who played well last week that their price didn't go up. I kind of like basically every one of these guys except for JT. And not that I don't like him. I just kind of like the other guys better. I mean, Rory needs to come out and kind of show that he should still be number one. Dustin Johnson's been hot. Colin's been hot. Bryson's been hot. I could argue for every one of these guys. Every single one of them. I'm probably the most on Dustin Johnson. I like him having the week off. And I feel like Morikawa is going to get a little bit of a bump. Rory always commands quite a bit of ownership. And, I just kind of like where Dustin Johnson fits in there.
Yeah, I'm on the same thought path as you. Dustin Johnson is my favorite up here, then probably Rory after that. I think JT is going to fade. I think Colin's going to have a little hangover, and Bryson took the week off, but I still think he's under pressure to repeat what he did in Detroit. So
yeah, and to be clear, Dustin Johnson's stats do not line up for this course. This is not a good course for his stats, and I think that's going to keep his ownership low up here.
Yeah, his stats do not line up for this course.
Which is why I'm looking at that as an ownership play, not necessarily that I think he's better than these guys. I just think I'm gonna get some leverage there.
No, if you're going on who in this top will win, it would probably be Rory would be my pick. But you're right, from an ownership standpoint, Dustin Johnson's probably the best play up here. I might not even in this tournament play anybody up here. I might stick to the 9s and 8s. There's just there's a lot of value in the 9s and 8s, and I just see a lot of issues with all these players that are 5 digits.
Chris, you said that you were ready for this week with your 2 or 3 lineups you're going to put in. You like any of these top guys, or are you going to play more of a balanced lineup?
I was going to echo exactly what Mark said. Is that most of my lineups are probably not going to consist of any of these guys. The guy that grades out the best for me, and the guy that I think that up here you can play is Bryson. I think he's actually number one in my model. That doesn't mean that I'm going to play him. I mean, the price there is not factored into the model. It's more a recent form model, and that's why he's popping. But I still think that. You look at his stats overall, I just think that he can play well here, and I think he should be somebody that you can reasonably target, specifically in cash, but I don't have a problem with all the value. But yeah, there's quite a few guys in the 9s and 8s that I'm more interested in that are, in that top 5 of my model or top 10 of my model. So I'm probably going to forego some of these super high-end guys and kind of go a little bit, just a step down to fit some of these other guys in and get maybe 2 or 3 of them.
Absolutely. I agree wholeheartedly. That's the only reason why I'm targeting Dustin Johnson up there. I feel like his ownership is going to be the less, but I really like these mid to high 8 and 9K guys. Speaking of that, we're going to go down there. We start at the top here with Patrick Cantlay, the darling of last week. Not so great the first couple of days. He makes the cut and really makes some moves. I think he finished, 7th or something by the end, and looked pretty sharp. Webb Simpson at 96, Victor Hovland, Hideki, John Rahm, Xander, Brooks. How about Brooks being the 11th highest priced guy? It's been a while since he's been that low. Took a tumble down to 9,100, and Tiger Woods rounds it out at 9,000. Are you shocked by how low Brooks dropped in price?
No, it's been a long time coming. I argued last week when Adam talked us into Brooks that he just doesn't look right. His game is off. He's not playing good. Whether or not he fits the course or not, it's kind of irrelevant. And
Mark, he shaved the mustache. That's what happened. He shaved the mustache and everything went wrong.
Maybe he stopped wearing the banana hammocks. I don't know.
Oh, man.
But
man.
Yeah, he's there's something wrong. He's off, and so I'm off him again this week. I'm not confident in him at all. I like Hovland still.
Whoa, let's go back to Brooks, though, because Mr. Missing Adam, Adam Inconsistent, tells us that He's back on him and wants us to get back on it with him. And dude, full fade for me. Full fade.
Oh yeah, I won't have him.
I don't care. Even if he wins the whole thing, I ain't touching him. I no interest at all.
Nope. I'm right there with you. Chris, any opinion on Brooks?
If he fits, I'll probably put him in, but I'm not going to go out of my way. If I build my lineup and I'm like at $9,100 left over for that last spot, I might consider it. But again, there's probably some other guys that I might go to, like I know we'll get to him. But if I've got 9,100, do I go Brooks or do I go like Daniel Berger? If he's not already picked in my lineup, probably go Berger and just leave the 400 on the table. So, I don't think I'm on a full fade, but I'm not really crazy or prioritizing him.
Totally agree. So let's go back up top. I mean, Patrick Catley. I don't know what the hell I'm talking about. By the way, this beer that I have been sipping on after I had some bourbon earlier, we lost it from Witch's Hat Brewing Company. So during this shutdown, we have, obviously spent some time in the nooks and crannies of our brewery. We found let me see if it says it on here. This beer consists of a 2.5-year aged bourbon barrel aged Night Fury and a 1.5-year aged maple bourbon barrel Brew It or Lose It, which was a cashew maple brown imperial blended together, man. It's incredible, and it clocks in at 13% alcohol.
Damn.
So, sorry for the rambles. That's just the way that it goes. So anyways, Patrick Cantlay, he was the course darling, right? Everybody was all about him last week. And if you stuck with him, he paid off fine, right? I mean, he took 7th. I'm probably more on him this week than I was last week. I like him better than everybody in the 10K range. I'm not like overly into him. I just really, if you're going to start the top guys, he's probably the first guy I start at. And Webb Simpson, even though, he didn't play last week. He's just been so hot this year. It's hard to discount him. Victor Hovland checks every single box. And those 3 guys, I could start probably one of those 3 guys in every single lineup of 20 and be happy.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. Webb Simpson is probably my favorite of the 3. Because he took the week off and he's been playing so well, and it's all about his iron play, which is what you need here. But yeah, Cantlay last weekend showed, even from a slow start, he started to get into a groove. He was playing the course well, so I expect that to continue. And Victor Hovland's he's been hot all year, so there's no reason to jump off that ship.
One of the things that I think is interesting about all of the those top guys when we're talking about Bryson, Hovland, Berger, Cantlay, even Xander, and a couple of these other guys that are mentioned up at the top here. One of the stats, the recent form, a lot of these guys are just crushing it. They're 10-12% over in greens and regulation, and that can certainly be why they're having some of these good outings. Whereas Patrick Cantlay is only about 4% over his long-term average, and he's much lower than the rest of these guys, and he's still holding his own. And so, if he has kind of one of those standout 1% performances, and that's what you're banking on if you're trying to take down a GPP is that type of performance. I think he's the type of guy that is going to have some lower ownership for guys that maybe had him but had other guys in their lineup and didn't really pay attention to the second 2 rounds, weren't playing the showdowns, and were just kind of out of it. So I'm really happy going to him. I think he kind of grades out well. The other guy that is not outperforming that metric a whole lot is Rory. So those are 2 guys to look at. I know Rory's in a price point that we talked about, but I was just taking a little deeper dig at some of these stats while you guys were talking, at least.
Nah, I appreciate that. So a guy whose stats just keep lining up, but something's just not quite right is John Rahm. Does he figure it out and put it together this week?
Man, I don't know. He looks so frustrated. If he wasn't on TV, I think he'd be throwing clubs and breaking putters. Mm-hmm. Man, he looked so off.
But man, his game is tailor-made for these courses, and it hurts me not to put him in at least one of these 20.
Yeah, I think he was hoping last weekend he was going to figure some stuff out, and I just don't think he did. I can't play him again.
Mm-hmm. All right, well, let's get the elephant out of the room here. Tiger Woods. Any exposure to him? Chris, if you were building 20 lineups in my 20 max, would you have two Tiger Woods lineups, or is that too many?
No, I would probably pay. Like, I mean, what's the ownership supposed to be on him?
Uh,
I'd be maybe slightly under or at the field on him. So, if he's at 15% ownership, 3 lineups is probably right.
yeah, let me see if I can pull that up. It wasn't working earlier, so I will try to pull it. When golf is like the only thing to bet on, the web page that we like to use to pull these stats runs really slow on Tuesdays and Wednesdays. Just saying. So, anyways, I'll wait for that to pull up. Maybe it'll pull up by the time the show's over. But yeah, man, I think 2 is the over/under I was setting at making these lineups. I will change all of these lineups, of course. I just set them in, and then I do it. I do things my own way, Chris. It'd probably drive you crazy to watch me build 20 lineups, but basically I just click 20 lineups in randomly how I feel with my player pool. I do the research. I do put my player pool together, and then I just throw 20 lineups in, and then I go back and see, oh wow, I have 8, Mark Leishmans. That's way too many. I got to pull him out of a few. So uh, it's strange, but I figured probably 2 or 3 Tiger Woods is probably where I'd end up. So we're right in line there.
Let me kind of change your way of doing that, because I do it too to a certain extent, but I think you can improve it with just one small thing that I think you'll actually like. Open up 20 different windows or 10, and then start building them like, oh, I like this guy, I want him in 4 or 5 lineups, and then put him in 4 or 5 lineups, and then start filling out those lineups that way. And then you do your process of editing it back, because you're going to inevitably, with some of the guys that you're not prioritizing, that you're using as fillers, you're going to end up overexposed to some of those guys just as a byproduct of doing it that way. But your top guys that you're targeting, you're going to have the right exposures. You just have to tweak some of those lower guys. Try that
for
way.
sure. I agree. Yeah, and then when I'm ready for this on Tuesday, like I did today, usually I'm doing this Wednesday night, like at 11 o'clock at night, right before I fall asleep, which is terrible idea, but I've actually done it already. And so because I did it Tuesday, they're actually all on a spreadsheet, so I can go and look exactly how many times I used each guy and where I used them. So,
or you could just build out your lineups that way. You could do it in a spreadsheet, you could do it in a CSV, and you could just have all 20 in front of you. So I mean, it's not altogether that different than when I'm building 5, 10, 15, or even 20 lineups for League of Legends. What I'll do is I'll open up all the windows, I'll put the teams that I want to stack, and I'll click through it, not just necessarily the guys, but the teams. And then I'll go through, build the lineups based off of those teams, and make adjustments as needed for price and different reasons that go with that. So
yeah, I dig it, man. I appreciate it. Yeah. I like you. I don't have anything else to add. I like you.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes when I build CSGO lineups, I just open 20 windows and I just go through it and click people and just hit enter, and I have no idea what I did. And, sometimes I just feel like that's what I'm doing anyway. So,
yeah,
why not get it over with quicker? So,
I like it. All right. Other guys that stand out there. I mean, Hideki's game plays to this. I mean, he's really good with those irons. He's very accurate. This is a course for Hideki. I feel like he's going to go under owned. So I think I'll probably be a little heavy on Hideki. Xander, man, he's playing good golf. I don't know if he has win equity this week. I mean, obviously he has win equity, but I don't know if I would bet him to win. But I do like him to top 10. And that's kind of my thoughts on that range. So we go down to 8, Mr. Mark.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, final thoughts from me is I like Xander a lot here, and I actually like Tiger a lot.
You can't not like Tiger at Memorial. I mean,
right, and he's taken the beginning of the year off. He's fully rested. He's had health issues forever, so I think this is his best chance to get a top 5 finish in here. So, I did manage to pull up some ownership, and Tiger's at 14%.
And that's actually, probably just natural Tiger being in the field.
Right.
I don't feel that that's high.
No. High would be, well, let's see. Top Cantlay right now is the highest at 18%.
Yeah, and that makes sense. Can't lay. This is his course right now.
So, yeah. So let's move on to the next stretch there. I just wanted to share that I'm not a Tiger fan, so for me to be on Tiger is huge.
Faux shout. Do we still hate Justin Rose?
Yeah.
Since he burned us earlier this year.
Not a fan on this course with recent form. Justin Rose is way down there for me. I'm not going to have any.
Dude, just looking on Fantasy National at his stroke gained across like the 9 categories they have in their front page. So this is his position in the field in all the different strokes gained. 72nd, 57, 58, 64, 67th, 58th, 69th, 69th. It's not good, man. He's way too high priced for where he's actually playing in this field. So full fade on Justin Rose for me.
I agree.
So Fowler plays well on this course. His recent form isn't great. I have a small smidgen of exposure to Fowler, but the guy below him, and Chris hit it earlier, Daniel Berger. I mean, I think because he took the last week off and he's been a little quiet, dude's been on fire since the restart. I mean, I might have him as my highest owned guy in those 20 lineups this week.
Chris?
I don't mind that. Yeah. I mean, I like him. I think there's a couple guys right around here that you can all build around. I like Berger. I like Woodland. I like Answer. Those are kind of the guys until you get down to like Fitzpatrick. I'm not interested in Sung Jae Im. Certainly not interested in Tony Finau. I know I said that with a lot of certainty, but I mean, I think that is. I think it's his driving accuracy. I think that's driving him down. So I'm not interested in Patrick Reed, but those 3 guys that are grouped up right there, Berger, Woodland, Answer. I think those are my 3 guys.
I 100% agree on you not looking at Fitzpatrick. I think he's a trap, man. If you look at his actual form and how he's playing, his stats for this kind of course is just not good. But he's had like 3 top 20 finishes of his last 5 courses, and I think he's going to be attracted to people at that price point. I don't think I can touch him. I'm with you, Mark.
Yeah, I'm on Berger too, but I'm gonna have a lot of Ricky Fowler. I'm going to give the same argument I gave for Cantlay. Is he started out slow, but then he turned it on later in the tournament, and he was shooting really good going into Sunday. So I see that continuing, and he's by far the best putter on tour. And these greens, you need to be a good putter, and he was nailing the putts last week. I think it'll be even better this week with the greens sped up. So I'm really on Ricky on the upper half of this 8,000 range. And then
that means, Mark, that Ricky will either finish in the top 4 or he's going to miss the cut. I mean, you've just destined him to 1 or 2 outcomes.
Yeah, that's kind of how my play works, right?
So I mean, hey, that means like, look, Danger, you need him in like 9 lineups. Those 9 lineups will be dead. Let's be honest; they're probably dead anyway already. But
harsh, man.
But on the flip side, they'll be alive, and they wouldn't have been alive anyway. So that's what I've learned in the last couple months. It's kind of been an enlightening for me. And we're talking about some of these stats, and we're trying to get things right. And I think that's one of the things that I always tried to do before was tried to get things right, tried to get the right stats, tried to pick the right guys. And when you do that, I think you end up being wrong more often than not. That's just the way that this all works. When you stop trying to be right and just trying to kind of be right and in a sense hedge out some of your decisions, like, hey, I feel really good about this, but I could be super wrong. So why don't I get out of this and hedge some of that? And it's easier when you're hedging team versus team. Like, look, I'm gonna get exposure to this team. I'm gonna have opposite exposure to this team, and I'm going to pair them with 2 other teams, and it's all going to be the same. I'm going to have 2 winning teams no matter what. But I think that's what we do too often is we try and get things right when we should just try and get things kind of right, and things will fall into place a little bit more when we do. So you need some Ricky Fowler this week. Mark has destined it, and just look, if they're dead by Friday, it's okay. That's the way that life is
Mhm.
supposed to be.
Yeah, I got a smidge of Fowler. Yeah, rounding out the 8K there. I mean, you got Kuchar and Day. Meh, pass. They're just not exciting for where they're priced. So moving down into the 7,000 range.
You were on Kuchar last week.
I was, but he didn't show me anything, and this is going to be even harder this week. He's a good putter. His short game is excellent, but I just don't think he's accurate enough right now.
No, his drives did not look good.
Yeah, I think he's going to play out of the rough. He's going to play out of the sand. There's a lot of water on this course. I don't like Kuchar here. So moving down, man, I mean, we don't have to go. There's a lot of guys in the 7K. So I'm going to just go over the guys that I just love, and they are all paired together. Benny On, I'm back on Benny On. He's number one in the field in ARG, so I got to put money on him. Doc Redman has been just a joy to watch play golf this year after the restart. Kevin Streelman, man, he's just tearing it for me. And Ian Poulter looked so good last week and has the best pants on tour. So those are my 4 guys in the 7K range, and they're all right next to each other, 76, 76, 76, 77. What do you got here, Mark?
I can't argue with any of those. I'll add to it Mark Leishman, and I'll add to it Kevin Kisner. But I think you nailed the best 4. Now for a GPP role, I'm gonna have one GPP with Jordan Spieth in it.
Sure, why not?
He's been up and down, but man, he's starting to put together 18 holes, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now he can't put together 36 yet, but there is that chance that he could just blow up this week. So
yeah. And other guys I do like down here, I mean, Adam Hadwin has been absolutely rock solid. He's a great cash play. He's going to make the cut. He's going to make a top 25 run, but he's going to be heavily over-owned. And then you can look down at guys like Phil and Louis if you want to get a little differentiating from the field. And, of course, Chris's boy, Kevin Na. Is Kevin Na a legitimate contender this week, Mr. Emmerich?
Kevin Na does not grade out well in my model, but I don't care about that. I'm going to play some Kevin Na for sure.
Hey, 5th in the field in putting, 3rd in the field in short game.
Yeah, I mean, let's see what's really affecting it here. I think it's his birdie game that's affecting it in my model. His bogey's good, but his birdie's bad, and I think that he's just really bad in the birdie, and that's probably what's really hurting it. One
I
guy
think
that
this
you
course setup, though, course is, Chris, is we didn't go over like our favorite stats to look at, but bogey avoidance for the way this is set up is huge, and I think Kevin Na fits that box.
Well, and I was actually going to bring up somebody that does not actually fit that box very well, and that's going to be your boy Benny Young. He scores. Actually worse than Kevin Na, one of the worst guys in my model, actually. The worst in this price point, as a matter of fact.
Oh, he's terrible, but I have to play him because he's number 1 in the field in ARG.
Yeah, okay, great, awesome. I will trade you one guy that's got a terrible rating and raise you a guy that I played last week I really liked, and so I'm going to go back to him just to make sure that I don't have any type of flop lag here. I do. Mark mentioned him, Mark Leishman. I like him. His driving accuracy has been just absolutely awful recently, but his bogey avoidance has been bad. You know what? I'm probably not going to play him, actually. I'm not making enough lineups to do it. I went really hard on MMA on Saturday. I made like 50 lineups. I hand built them. That was a nightmare. We'll never do that again. But I am absolutely probably not doing that with golf. So I'm probably gonna have 5 lineups. Mark Leishman's not gonna be in it, but Kevin Na will be in 2 of them, of course. It's just I have to.
All the way down at the bottom at 7K, Lucas Glover, man.
Of course, I've got Lucas Glover.
Yeah, man. I mean, like, he looks
high
good.
in my model.
If you look at the stats listed on Fantasy National, they don't stand out, but he's played well. Recent form is good, and I think he's going to go overlooked. I think you and I might just win all the money with him.
I've heard him chatted about. I think the one thing that's going to detract people is I don't think, or so I've been told. I don't look at the same stats that you guys do. That he's not a good putter, but I don't think that that's important as long as he's striking the ball well. He should still be able to compete. And at this price, I mean, you're not looking for him to win the tournament. As long as he's got actually pretty terrible course history, but that recent form has looked really, really good. And
top
look,
25 for 71 is going to be good.
Yeah, look, exactly. I mean, but for 71, he scored 87, 89, 89, and 89. So
it's good.
Like it's fantastic. And I've been on Lucas Glover for a long time. I don't express my love for him the same way that I do with Kevin Na, but I am officially retiring Jim Furyk from my every week lineups, and I'm promoting Lucas Glover. He's up to the squad. Let's give him a round of applause, man.
I like it. I'm into it. I'm into it, buddy.
Good job.
Hey, Chris,
we're because on the pod next week.
Because Mark and I basically run the same models. What are your feelings on JT Poston? Where does he pop up there? Like his approach game is trash. His ball striking is trash, but everything else is fantastic.
Pretty low actually. Yeah. He is, in that 7,000 range. Sepp Straka is ahead of him. Yeah. Lucas Glover is ahead of him, but he's
my
still
dark horse.
I mean, he grades out the same way for me as Brian Harman, Brendan Steele, a little bit better than like Damon, Willett, Varner, certainly better than a lot of the guys that are underneath him price wise. I think Nick Taylor actually for some reason grades out, and I'm just looking at it and I'm not sure why. I'd have to go back and tweak this, but Nick Taylor grades out a little bit better than him.
I think he's got better in
6 points.
Yeah.
If you're going with Poston, I think the guy that I'd like, and we'll get to him, but we're going to get to him right now because I'm just going to bring him up. And
let's do it.
It's just what I'm going to do. Max Homa. Max Homa has been the guy that I've been going to.
Max Homa.
Yeah, man. Look, dude, the guy lets you down 1 week. He comes back the next week, and he bounces back, except for the last 2 weeks. So I think he's due for a bounce-back spot. He's going to score, 74 fantasy points. It's not what I am projected at, but if he does that, that's good. If he doesn't, then he'll ruin the 1 or 2 lineups that I'm in, or that he's in.
I dig it. Hey, Mark, any last thoughts on the 7,000s? We kind of blurred past the bottom half because it's really unexciting to me, and there's a lot of guys at the top half of that 6K range that I want to take a swing at.
I like Brian Harman at 71.
You would. And he's so boring, Mark.
That's
you
about
would love him.
He's boring, but he's boring and makes the cut. So if you're looking for a low 7K, there you go. He'll make the cut.
He makes the cut half the time, Mark, and that is par for your course. He's going to be +4 on Friday.
Hey, I'll never forget when Mark had 3 missed cuts and the rest of us had only 1, and he beat us because he had 1, 2, and 3 in those 3 that didn't miss the cut. So it works for him.
So mind you, let's go back to that. So. Out of his last 5 tournaments, he's missed the cut 3 times. So let's take the last 6. 3 times still. But at this particular course, he has missed the cut 4 out of 6 times that he's played it, dating back to 2012. So,
yeah, he's not on my list.
I don't think he's this consistency guy that you're touting him as. So,
yeah, I like Sepp Straka a lot, man. I'm with you. That was my dark horse of the week.
Look, Brian Harman makes the cut about as often as Adam White makes the podcast on time.
This is true. This is true. He did text me and said, sorry, completely lost track of time. So, hey, whatever.
Adam, it gets dark out at like 9 o'clock. So like when you see the sun going down and it's dark, it's like, oh, I should get on the podcast,
Whoops, it's time.
My body's fiending for alcohol because it's 9 o'clock and it's, I don't know. He works in the golf industry. He might drink all day. I don't know.
Sure. And he's self-employed now, so it might be worse. So,
hey, I know all about that, man.
All right, getting back down to those 6K range. I mean, the guy that just has been playing really well. He let me down a little last week, but Maverick McNeely, 6,800. I mean, his price has not moved at all, and he grades out well for me. And then a guy popped up. I don't really know why. This is why I like when Adam's on, because Adam actually watches these things, so it's he knows about the Euro Tour and things that I don't pay attention to. But Emiliano Grillo at 67 also pops up a little bit. And I really kind of like the way Zach Johnson played last week, and wouldn't mind giving him a lineup at 67.
Yeah.
So one of the things that Grillo pops up in is just greens and regulation. I mean, he's one of the better guys. He's, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. He's top 10 recent form, greens and regulation. So
I think he gets missed a lot because he's a Euro guy, right?
I think he's just one of those guys that is hit or miss. I mean, sometimes he's hot for a couple weeks and he does really well, and then he kind of falls off. And I mean, if you look at his DK scores going back to February, 108, 11, 23, 24, 31, 60, 83, 23.
Yeah, not great. I don't know, not great, but he did pop up in the model I run.
I played him last week, so I mean, if we're saying that this is pretty much the same thing as last week, I don't see a problem with it, but it doesn't grade highly.
No. And then I kind of like Taylor Gooch, just a itty bitty bit if you're looking to differentiate. I always like a little Gooch. And Brian Stewart right there too at 65. Anybody you like down here, Mike?
Yeah, I mean Bud Cauley would be a decent play down here. Gooch, I agree with Gooch. I think he's likely to make the cut if you need someone at 6,500. I'm really hoping I don't have to go down here, to be honest with you. Adam Long played good last week.
I got a guy down here.
Was he a tipsy pick? Because we could save him for later, dude. You don't gotta spoil it all now.
Well, the problem is Mark is going down the list, and if Mark, mentions this guy, I don't want him to get ahead of me. So I'm gonna go ahead and say it. Like, this guy actually scored. Like, this is the lowest price guy that scores decently well for me. If you look at his last three tournaments, he's just blown his projections out of the water, his expectation out of the water. He had to cross a big body of water to get here, and that's going to be Henrik Norlander. I don't know if he's actually from Europe or from one of the Finnish countries. I just made that assumption based off his name. So, that's very ignorant of me to do, but I'm going to look it up right now. So that's where that joke came from. I'm just trying to be politically correct. I don't want to get canceled.
Chris, why did the Finnish Navy put barcodes on the outside of their ships?
I don't know, but he's from Sweden.
Yes. Well, that works. Why did the Swedish Navy put barcodes on the side of their ships?
I don't know. Why?
So they could Scandinavian.
Oh, there you go. That was pretty good.
No, I like Norlander here. He played really good last week. He came in 31st.
All right.
And the week before that, that's the thing. It's not just last week. I mean, if you look at it, he was 31st, 12th, 41st, and at that price, I mean, the guy's just got to make the cut and play 4 rounds and not be a complete shitbag.
He's a younger golfer coming off the European Tour, right? So he's another up and comer who got a PGA.
He's 33.
Yeah.
What about Mr. Naismith, who had a nice third place finish a couple of weeks ago and disappointed last week? But could he bounce back at $6,200 for a guy who less than 3 weeks ago finished third place? Nothing? Zero? He's not in any models. I'm just looking at names at the bottom here.
No, he just.
I did have a guy pop in the model.
He didn't fit the course last week, and if you look, 101st off the tee, 26th in approach, which isn't bad. 117th in arg. I just no.
So hey guys, I want to bring something up now that we're talking about some of these terrible golfers, and just to put a little more emphasis on it. I think we should have 3 tournaments amongst ourselves. I think we should have our one traditional, you're trying to pick the best golfers and get the best score and win. I think we should have 2 other ones. I think one should be it's most guys through the cut, and then like lowest average score, and the guys that make the cut, right? And then I think we should have another one where we're trying to just pick 6 guys. They're going to miss the cut, have the worst possible score, but we have to roster no more than 3 guys under 7,000, and then one between 7 and 8.
One you have to use at least $43,000 of your salary or something. Yeah.
I think 3 guys under 7, 1 between 7 and 8, 1 between 8 and 9, and 1 9 and above. I think that's completely fair. You're trying to pick out those 1 golfers that are missing in those other ones, and just 3 really, really bad guys elsewhere.
So you're trying to pick the bum squad. The bum squad is what you're trying to pick.
Yeah, it's like we could play some high-low, basically.
Playing some Raz ball. I like it.
Well, we did it yesterday. So, one of the Discords I'm in for esports is the esports department, and they had a $600 giveaway, and it was a 2-game slate. You had the lowest score with all 7 guys playing, and those type of contests are pretty fun.
All right. So 1 normal, 2 made cuts, and so if 2 of us tie with 5 guys through, then the best score wins. But if only one of us,
worst score. We're doing one high.
No. I'm talking about the made cuts. I'm talking about not the missed cuts.
Well, no. We got to do one where you're trying to make the cut, or you're trying to make the cut with a low score. You're trying to basically, because look, you can, for that low score one, I know that we're putting salary restrictions on it to make it harder, but let's make it even harder. You're trying to get those guys that are going to finish right at that cut line and just stay there, stay at the bottom, just be guys that play 4 rounds but play bad. Withdrawals, they're no good. Those take away from your score. So it's like your lowest average score.
What you're gonna have to do, because I'm kind of buzzed up at this point, you're gonna have to put this in a Google Doc and share it with me, and then I'll create the contest.
I'll just type it in WhatsApp.
Yeah, just type it up, man. Get it done and send it to me. I'm feeling good, and I'm not gonna remember any of this. I gotta look at it tomorrow. All right.
Yeah, while you're making some, cinnamon buns or something.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. Well, I think we're down to tipsy picks and one and done. So
yeah, man.
Why don't we do that?
One and done. I'm gonna have to look at my player pool that is left. I think I used Cantlay already, so I'm probably gonna stay away from him. I might take a run at Berger because he already won, and I think that will keep some people off of him in one and done. So I kind of like Berger. I like Simpson. I think I used him already. I like Cantlay. I think I used him already. So I'm kind of looking at guys
one and done. You're just trying to make sure that they make the cut. Is that what you're trying to do?
No, one and done is win.
Done, you're trying to win. You can only use each golfer one time, and you actually get the cumulative purse that they win, and then whoever has the highest cumulative purse wins.
I think Victor Hovland's a guy that you could look at too that you probably haven't used.
I probably not. So
I actually
like
did. I got him on his 1 win this year.
Ah, nice. And then Chris, you actually get a bonus if you pick a guy and you are the only one in the pool who picked them, and you win. You win like a skin for it, and it's like $5,000. So yeah, so that's cool. I don't know if it's $5,000. Is it like $2,000? I can't remember.
I still have Morikawa to play.
Yeah, I think I do too because I had him as my backup. So there's a couple of guys I like there. I mean, I think Abraham Anser's got a great chance to take this down. And then if you want to get down kind of low, guys I like are, I don't know, further down the list. I mean, Lucas Glover could be that guy you could get that skin on.
Well, do I play Tiger?
You could play Tiger and get him out of the way. I think he's going to be decently owned.
Yeah, but I'll take anything at this point. I'm
Sure.
saving Rory for the Masters.
Yeah, I'm saving Rory and Thomas for myself for the big ones. So, yeah, those are kind of the guys I'm looking at. I'll probably end up with Hovland or Berger or maybe Morikawa. I don't know. I don't think he's going to win back to back. That would be be awesome if he did. It'd be fun to watch. I don't know. So, anyways, guys, we are Draft for Upside. We are distributed through the Sports Crew by my good buddy Lou Lander, so please check them out. Follow us on Facebook. We will put up at some point tomorrow night, or Wednesday night, we will put up our quick picks, the kind of consensus guys we like at the top, the middle, and the value. And then, of course, our tipsy picks. God, please don't put all of them in a lineup. They are like, hey, we're hammered. And you have to be hammered to throw the guy in the lineup. So definitely look for that. And just stay tuned. We pass out some news here or there. And we're generally should post more drunken shenanigans, Mark.
Yes, we need to.
Yeah, Chris, you have access to our Facebook page, right? You really should just go on these like 3 or 4 a.m. rants using our Facebook page. I think it would be highly entertaining.
You want me to post pictures of Korean people?
Yes.
And the Chinese players that I'm backing?
Yes.
That I do on my regular Facebook from time to time.
Please.
I mean, because actually, I don't know if you guys know this, but I wake up at like 4 or 5 in the morning every morning and either I start drinking and degen gamble and watch esports and other random things, or I actually put together my life like a real human being. I hit the gym and I live through the day. I go to bed at 1, which is weird. So I've like programmed my body to sleep for like 4 hours a day. So
yeah, that is weird, man.
Yeah, no, it's cool. I like it.
Strange man. I like that about you, though. Tipsy picks, man. Who wants to go first?
I do. Norlander, done.
Norlander, yeah, you were already going to do that. Oh, good.
What's he at? Oh,
63.
63.
Yeah, he qualifies, man. I don't know. That's not. You're not drunk enough. That's too good of a pick.
Yeah, no, I like it though. It fits the parameters though, Mark. Leave the man alone.
I'm sorry, guys. I did a little research today. I've paid for a couple sites. I've done some stuff. I've been working because I actually have money in my account to spend on other stuff, and it is what it is.
Mark, who you got?
I'll go Adam Long, 6,400.
White bread, man. You're so boring to me.
Hey, I took Vijay Singh the last 2 weeks.
Well, that was just dumb.
It was tipsy.
I'm going to go with a guy who popped in my model. I don't know who he is. I have no idea why he popped in the model. The stats are terrible. I don't know, man. He popped up in like the 30th place, which was strange for a bottom feeder. But David Lingmerth, couldn't tell you anything about him. Not at all. I wanted Adam to tell me why, and he's not here. So, but I'm going to go with him anyways. 6,100, David Lingmerth.
Never heard of him. If Adam was here, he could probably tell you his life story. But hey, there you go.
Maybe because Adam missed the pod, we will assign him a 2-page article simply on the background of David Lingmerth that he will post to the webpage.
Yeah, dude, 100% you're not going to remember who you picked by Saturday.
I wrote it down.
Oh, you write everything down, and then you lose it.
I don't lose it. It's all here. I just never look at it again. There's a difference.
He's got his notebook.
Yeah, it's in the notebook. It's fine. It's all good. I just usually get too drunk to write properly. I can't read it tomorrow. It's fine. Everything is fine. All right, guys. Well, it was a pleasure hanging out with you. We have been Draft for Upside. Please find us, DRAUGHT, like draft beer, the number 4, upside.com. Give us a follow on Facebook. I am Johnny Danger for Brewery Mark and Chris E. Sports Emmerich. Have a good night.
See ya.